Hi everyone, and thanks once again for tuning in to Smash Factor TV. My name is Natalie Adams. So with today's video lesson tip, we're going to have a look at helping you get a bit more consistent with your ball striking. Now for me there's three things we need to sort of focus on to help that consistency, and that's to do with getting the low point of your swing in the correct place. If you're not a consistent ball striker, the low point for your club head as you swing the club around you is most probably too early, so before you get to that golf ball, and you'll either hit the ground before you hit the ball, or you'll skim the ground and then you'll catch the golf ball on the upswing because you've reached that low point, and you're either moving down to that low point or you're moving up from it. So first thing I want us to think about here is what your upper body is doing on your downswing. So if I set up here now, I've popped this piece of foam just on an alignment pole. I've just popped it into a range basket, and I'm just going to use it as an indicator for where my lead shoulder is. Now as I swing back, my lead shoulder, as I make my backswing, it moves away from that foam and it moves downwards. Now if I leave my lead shoulder here and I just turn back towards the ball, my upper body now is leaning back too much, and that's going to make me bottom out too early with my swing, and that club head will reach its low point before I get to the golf ball. So what I want to work on doing here from this position here is to allow those shoulders to rotate, the ribs rotate round, the shoulders move with them, but I need to work on getting this lead shoulder back into position, if not slightly more to the left of where it was when it started. So I want to make more of this movement as I come in rather than this movement. Okay, so work on getting the lead shoulder closer to that pole. Now what I'd focus on is your shirt buttons. So as you swing back, you now want to make sure that you get your shirt buttons feeling like they're going ahead of the golf ball, so to the left of the golf ball as you're looking down. So you feel like you're getting a movement towards the target with that upper body, rather than the shirt buttons being left to the right of the golf ball as you hit. Okay, so the second thing, which is very interconnected with that, is what the pressure is doing in your feet. Now if you're somebody who tends to end up in this kind of position and those shirt buttons are to the right of the ball, then you're going to have too much pressure in your right foot, in your trail foot, and we need to get that pressure moved into the trail foot during the backswing, but we need it moving back into the lead foot, into your left foot as you swing back down. So what we want to work on here is, yes, it's fine for that pressure to go into that back foot, that trail foot as you swing back, but you've got to get that pressure moving into that lead foot as you swing back down, so that again those shirt buttons will get to the left of the target. And I'll put a link into the video here, so if you want to have a look at a more specialised video on moving the pressure, you can just have a look at that by clicking the card that's appearing on your screen now. Okay, the other thing we want to talk about here is the release of the golf club. So on that downswing, if you're someone that releases the golf club early like this, so you end up with this kind of scoop, again that's going to make the golf club bottom out before it gets to the golf ball, and that's what's causing that inconsistency in your strike, because then you're either hitting the ground first or you're skimming the ground, but then you're catching the ball on the upswing as you go through. Remember, you're only one low point in that downswing for the club head, and you're either going down to it or you're coming up away from it. So what can happen with that is, if you've got a very open club face, that will make you make this kind of scooping action in an attempt to try and square the club face up. So what we want to do to start with is look at your grip, especially with your left hand. Again, for a more specialised video on that, I'll put a card up on the screen now, so you can click that. It'll take you to the video that'll help you check if your grip is correct or not. But what we want to work on with the grip grip is seeing that basically we've got the club sitting in the fingers of the left hand rather than the club sitting in the palm of the left hand. So make sure you've got your fingers at the back of that handle. I'd look for sort of the joint of your index finger, so between the middle section and the tip of the index finger, that joint there, and then the joint nearest to your palm on your little hand, but they should be sitting at the back of the club rather than the club sitting in your palm. And then from there you can get your hand a lot more over to the right, so it gives you a stronger grip. Okay, so with that better grip, the other thing that we want to work on now is when you swing back, we want to keep that club face feeling like it's pointing downwards towards the target line as we take the club away. And then as we get to the top, we want to work on turning the knuckles of the left hand away from you. And that will give us a lovely flat left hand position at the top. So again, if we watch from this way on, we want to work on having a flat left hand position. Knuckles feel like they're turned away from my body rather than this kind of cupped position, which now the club face is open. So you don't necessarily start with the club face aiming right of target at the start of the backswing, but during that swing the club face is starting to open up because of maybe that wrist action and due to the grip as well. So again, I'll put another card on that'll help you go to a link with that club face control. But the main points of this to get that consistency are going to be, so you're going to go into your right foot as you swing back. We're going to make sure we've got the correct hold on the club, keeping the club face towards that target line and towards the ball as you swing back, turning the knuckles away from you at the top to get that flat left wrist, letting the pressure go back into the lead foot as you get to the top, and then those shirt buttons ahead of the ball, so you feel your chest is much more over the ball and ahead of the ball, and that will allow you to come back into impact, hands much more forward, and you'll get more of a downward connection as you strike that golf ball. If you work on those 3 tips over the winter to get used to the feelings of what the change is like for you, really will help you by the time we get round to the spring to strike that ball better, because it's going to help you get that low point where it needs to be, which is where the ball is. If you're hitting your irons, it wants to be just ahead of the ball with the low point, so you'd hit the ball and then the turf. If you're taking your fairway woods, you want the low point pretty much just before that ball, so you're just catching it on the upswing, and hybrids again just similar to irons, but just getting that low point much more accurate on into that area where the ball is, rather than that low point ending up a couple of inches before you've got to the golf ball, and then you're either digging the club into the turf or you've reached the low point, skimming the turf, and then the club's on the up as it's trying to hit the ball, making you hit very thin shots. So work on those 3 points. That should help you get a lot more consistent with the strike of your golf clubs and the golf ball. It's a game-changing golf tip.